It's good to see everybody here and good to be back in the Lord's house. I don't know about y'all, but my heart's been breaking this last couple of weeks. First with the stuff going on out in Virginia with the governor, the lieutenant governor, and all that crazy mess. And then, I don't know if y'all paid attention to some of the stuff going on with the SBC. Some of the higher up pastors and leaders of huge churches, leaders of the theological seminaries of the Southern Baptist Convention being caught up in sexual problems, just all sorts of mess going on. It just tears at a person's heart to see people that are supposed to be recognized and just, upright and everything, but yet come to find out that they're just as human as everybody else. And so kind of struggled with what to talk about. I thought about just using the rest of the time for prayer, to pray that God will be with them and help them, and then also be with us and help us to decide what to do as a church and how to go forth through this, but also be a church that's welcoming to everybody and not have any problems coming up. And I was going to preach on Micah 6:8 last week, and I think I'm going to do that one, but I'm going to start up with verse 2 of Micah. It's one of the minor prophets. It's a very short book in the Old Testament. And I'm going to kind of frame it as, imagine this is a courtroom. And we're getting ready to hear a case. God is setting up as judge. He's also the prosecuting attorney. And then we're the defenders. We're the defense. And the jury is made up of nature. The mountains, the trees, everybody. Think of it, imagine that scene, if you will. And the session's called to order. Hear ye now what the Lord saith. Arise, contend thou before the mountains, and let the hills hear thy voice. And then then starting with this verse 2 will be God speaking as the prosecutor. Hear ye, O mountains, the Lord's controversy, and ye strong foundations of the earth. For the Lord had the controversy with his people, and he will plead with Israel. And this is still the Lord speaking. O my people, what have I done unto thee? And wherein have I wearied thee? Testify against me. For I brought thee up out of the land of Egypt, and redeemed thee out of the house of servants. And I sent before thee Moses, Aaron, and Miriam. O my people, remember now what Balak, king of Moab, consulting what Balaam, the son of Beor, answered him, From Shittim unto Gilgal, that ye may know the righteousness of the Lord. Now that isn't your typical opening statement being laid out by a prosecutor. Usually they lay out all the charges and say, I'm going to prove that this is what they did. But instead, he starts off, what have I done? I am the Lord. I am the Creator. I've done all this stuff. I've brought you up out of Egypt. But yet, why do you still treat me and turn against me? And then, verse 6, the defense gets up to speak. This is Israel or us. Wherewith shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves of a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, or with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgressions, the fruit of my body, for the sin of my soul? That's Israel. How can we approach you? How should we come before you? Do we need to do the sacrifices as prescribed in the Mosaic letters? Do we need to bring oil? Do we need to bring fruits of our labor, fruits of our gardens? Or shall we give our firstborn? Now, I don't have kids, and so I really don't know what it's like to try to face giving up your kid. But I've heard people say that they would not be able to do it. But yet God gave up his firstborn. John 3:16. He gave his only begotten Son because of his love. But yet we still look for actions instead of just accepting that. And then verse 8 is the jury responding, pronouncing the sentence. He hath showed thee, O man, what is good, and what doth the Lord require of thee, but to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God. So that is what we are supposed to do. We are to do justly. In other words, if somebody tells us something, we are to respond, but it is to be in a just way. Not like we've seen with social media or even regular media, where they say, so-and-so did such and such. Oh, he needs to get out of office right now. Throw him out. Don't give him a chance to defend himself. He's guilty. He doesn't deserve to be in the position he's in, even though what he's been charged with took place years ago before he even thought about attaining the position they're in now. We should say, what is your answer to this? You know, how do you plead? In the same, to love mercy, to show mercy to our neighbors. Yeah, they might have messed up. But we should say to them, we're standing with you. Well, not standing with you, but we're here. We're going to talk with you. We're still treating you as the Lord would want us to treat you. We support you, and we will work with you and show you the Lord's way. And we're to do all this as we walk with Christ. Walk humbly with God, seeking His direction, reading the Bible, listening, praying to Christ, saying, and just pouring our hearts out, saying your heart's breaking for whatever reason, and ask Him to help you to understand some things going on and how to deal with it, but to deal with it in a just, merciful, loving way. And that is how we are to be. We are to do what the Lord requires of us, to do justly, to love mercifully, and to walk humbly with God. And so that is how we are to respond to things such as what's happened in Virginia, what's going on with the nation today. And yes, sometimes it gets hard. But that's where walking humbly with God comes in. Lean on Him. Stand on His promises as we've sung. Let God lead us and give us the words He wants us to say, and to show God to the rest of the world. And to proclaim that because of His love for us, He sent His only Son, and that whoever believes in Him should not perish, but have everlasting life. And so, as we get ready to close out the service this morning, if there's anyone here who needs to make a decision for Christ, either rededication of life, or wishes to join our fellowship, or wishes to make a profession of faith, you have never done that before, or even if you have, please come on forward. And I'll be down here in the front waiting to receive you and talk with you and pray with you. Whatever your heart desires, please come.
Number 187.